Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. Good afternoon to all. The previous class we were discussing structures and we understood how to declare structure, how to access structure members, how to declare array of structures, and then how to nest a structure within the other structure. These are all the things what we understood in the previous class. So now for today, uh, we are discussing pointers to the structure. Okay, this I think I told last class itself, previous this slide. So instead of just declaring a normal variable to this structure right now, we have created a pointer to this structure book. And now when you are creating a pointer, you can access the structure members using the arrow operator. So this is one way of accessing the structure members. And the other way is again you can use access the structure members using the pointer with the dot operator also. How to do this? You have to do like this. So you got to specify the pointer name with the dereferencing operator star and then the name, and you got to remember this when you are using this dereferencing operator star and the pointer in order to access the structure members, you got to write this pointer along with the dereferencing operator inside the bracket. Okay, and then you got to specify the member name using the dot operator. So this is one way, and malloc we will be discussing this later. Okay, dynamic memory allocation, when we go there we'll be discussing more on this. Okay, right now we'll not worry about this function. Okay, I have the example on the same struct book star. It's the pointer created for the previous example, and the memory what we are doing now, I'm not using the array. I'm just allocating memory using the dynamic memory allocation function. Okay, so malloc, there is a function with the name malloc which will allocate the memory dynamically at the time of execution. Now how much memory I'm allocating? Size of struct book. Okay, if you just go back and see the book, it has one character array of size 20, one integer member and one floating point member. So this altogether a character takes 1 bytes of memory. Since we have told it as name of 20, so it takes 20 bytes of memory, and we have one integer member. This takes 4 bytes on my PC. It takes 4 bytes, and this takes another 4 bytes. So 20 plus 4 plus 8, it is the sum of memory allocated to this is 28 bytes total. Now when I say size of, this will compute the size of the structure. It is 28 bytes as of now, and what malloc will do is it will go for allocating 28 bytes of memory. Okay, and then what malloc returns is the address of the starting byte. Total 28 bytes of memory will be allocated, and what malloc returns is address of the starting byte. Address of the starting byte will be returned. So since the address we are assigning it to bptr, so the return value from the malloc should be casted to struct book star. Okay, the return value from the malloc is a pointer which is of type struct book star. So this is what we are casting, the entire return value from malloc to of this type, and then we are printing name, we are reading the name. Okay, and what we are using is the arrow operator. Otherwise you can use star bptr, a book pointer. Why it is written as bptr, meaning book pointer. Dot name also you can use, and similarly enter the number of pages. Okay, again we are reading it, and then enter the price we are reading. Here we didn't use ampersand because it is not necessary. What we are reading is to the array, because this name was a character array, and you know that the array name itself acts as the base address. You don't have to use the ampersand, whereas the other two were normal. One is the integer member and another one is the floating point member, and whenever you are reading them you got to specify the address ampersand operator. I hope you understood till here. We'll go to the next one. Okay. Now, say I have one normal variable here. So same example which was there in the previous slide. I have one normal variable which is declared to this structure, and another one is a pointer star b ptr. Now what I'm doing now, so ptr, as you already know, it stores the address of another variable. Like any pointer you take, it stores the address of another variable. Right now this is a pointer which is of type struct book. Now what I'm assigning to that address of this variable. See, address of this structure, b is a variable to this structure, and what I'm assigning to b ptr is address of this particular structure is being assigned. Okay, here the base address of b is assigned to pointer b ptr. Next, now the previous structure can be accessed in, members of the structure can be accessed in three ways, because I have a pointer also, I have a normal variable also. So there are three ways you can access the members of this structure in three ways. How? Like this: b.name, b.pages, b.price. So since b is a normal variable to the struct book, and similarly if I want to access it using the pointer with the arrow operator, I'll do it like this. And I don't want to use the arrow operator, I just want to access all the members of the structure by using the dot operator and pointer. Then this is how I'll be doing it. Okay, now pointer to array of structures. Okay, so if just observe, it's the same structure now. In the previous example we just add it as an ordinary variable. Now we have b of 10, which is an array of structure, and there is a pointer also. Okay, so now if I want to assign something to this array, so I can just do it like this. So b ptr is equal to b. Earlier in the previous example we did it as ampersand b. Now I don't have to do it as ampersand b. Why? Because this is the name of the array and it acts as the base address or the starting address, so I don't have to use the ampersand here. Okay, so this, then the statement b ptr is equal to b assigns the address of the 0th element, that is what I told, assigns the address of the first element of b to b ptr. Okay, next, yeah, and the members of b of 0, say b of 0, it's representing the first book, can be accessed like this. Okay, so if I do it like this, if I am assigning b ptr is equal to b, so then the members of the first member of b0, members of first book b of 0 can be accessed like this. So b ptr arrow name, so it will fetch you the name of the first book, and b ptr arrow pages fetch you the number of pages in the book 0 and first book and its price. Similarly, the members of just b of 1, the next book, can be accessed as this. Say b ptr, it is holding the address of the first one, correct? So now I want to access the next one. You can just go for incrementing b ptr itself, b ptr plus 1, correct, and name. Okay, b ptr plus 1 arrow pages, b ptr plus 1 arrow price. Similarly, if I want to access the 10th book members, then b ptr plus 10 I will be writing. So the same thing can be done by using a for loop. So I am using a for loop. b ptr is equal to b initialization. So what b ptr will be doing? So if I just say b ptr arrow name, I can access the name of the first book. Okay, and then next what I am doing, b ptr less than b plus 10 I am checking, and then b ptr plus plus. On every iteration I am incrementing the b ptr plus plus, such that I can go for accessing the members of the other books, subsequent books. So I am printing it. So this simple for loop which you can use. So when you have pointer to array of structures, so this is what we basically use in order to access the members of all the array elements, or here it is the books. So now I have a problem to you based on the pointers. Okay. So define a structure of employee having data members like name, address, age, and salary. Take data of n employees in an array, so dynamically, and find the average salary. Okay. You got to read the data of n employees dynamically. That means you should not assign the data of n employees at the time of declaration. You should go for reading them dynamically from the keyboard. Okay, and find the average salary. And when you are doing all these things, please do use the pointers. Okay, and similarly the other one is also there. Define a structure for student, one for the employee, another one for the student, having the data like name, address, marks in C language and marks in information system. 2 marks you have to read, one for the C language, another one for the information system. Take data of n students in an array dynamically and find the total marks obtained. Sum of the marks obtained in C language and the sum of the marks obtained in the information system. So just do it. Right, for this, only thing is you have to use the pointers. For your reference, just take the photo of these two problem statements. I'll just go back and show you how to use the for loop kernel in order to access the members using the pointers. So this is what. So I hope all of you have taken the photo of this. So just take the photo of this from, using a cell phone. If it takes more time for you to write down this. Now I am displaying this page to you. Just quickly write it, either handwritten or even open chat box and write it. Write for the first one at least. Second one you do it later. So write a structure for employee and create an array and then a pointer and next. So dynamically go for reading the employee details and then run a for loop something like this. So a for loop something like this and find the average salary and display it. Yeah, are you people writing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Similar to the programs what you wrote in the previous class, but you got to do that with the pointers now. That's all. I'll open my chat box. If you're writing, you can also send it to WhatsApp group. So complete it only for the first one. Second one you do it later at home. Or do you want me to show that for loop, or is it okay? Yeah, do it quickly, because today I want to complete this pointers and structures, and then I have to start with the union. If I get 2 to 3 responses, I'll continue. Can I know who is finished? Anybody finished? Use pen and paper also, because you can do it faster there. And take the photo of the same and send it. Yeah, I got one response. So name, character, add, age, salary, address, okay, and then in some average, struct employee star e, fine, enter the number of employees is equal to, okay, allocating memory, struct employee star malloc size n into, because so many employees, okay, good, n into size of struct employee, enter the details of employee, okay, okay, so reading it, so e dot name, okay, average, okay, Okay, good. Okay, okay, at least I got one response. Okay, we'll continue instead of wasting time. So you people keep writing, and even after the class also you can post me. Okay. So next, functions and structures. Okay. Uh, Even we need to pass sometimes the structure members to the functions as the arguments in order to get our computation done. Okay. Now what we do here, we consider 4 cases and we discuss how we pass the members of the structure as arguments to the functions. So first case that we discuss is passing individual members of the structures to the functions, and the second what we discuss is passing the whole structure to the function. So how to pass the entire structure as arguments to the functions, and passing structure pointers to the function, and also we discuss how do we pass array of structures to the pointers. So all these 4 cases we understand now, and this is also important. Okay. So first we understand how do we pass individual members of the structure to the functions, and passing the entire structure to the function. Next, just pointing the pointer to the structure and passing the array of structures to the functions. Okay. Okay, I just moved back 1 second. Okay. Now passing structure members to the functions. So the problem is, say I want to pass the individual members of the structure to the functions, then a huge number of parameters you have to pass, or the argument list you have to pass. Say if I consider the same previous example, say if I want to pass name, ID, salary, so I have to do it individually, correct, one after the other, and huge number of structure members will, if the structure members are very large, so then passing all the structure members is a difficult job. So this structure is very simple and it has only 3 members and you can easily pass it. Okay, I have the example here. See what I am now doing now. So display, to the display function I am passing the members of the struct employee individually. Okay, emp.name, emp.id, emp.salary. Okay, and the same thing you can access here. So since it's a name, so here I am creating a character array, character E of, correct, no, and size is unspecified, and then int id, float salary. Okay, this is all, and I can go for printing or performing any other computation, but this method is not best suited if the structure has huge number of argument members or larger numbers. I don't know why it is going back. 1 second. Okay. Next, passing the whole structure to the function. Okay, in case if the number of members in the structure is very large, so then you can go for passing the entire structure to the function. How? The syntax is like this. So function name, and then you just pass the structure variable. Okay, so you will be declaring a variable to the structure. Now you pass that variable name here. Okay, and the called function will have the form. This is while calling, and this is the called function. Called function will have something like this. So return type will be writing, name of the function will be writing. So struct keyword, and then tag name. So that is the name what you are given to the structure, tag name of the structure, and then you go to create one more structure variable. If you want, you can retain the same name, or else you can go for giving a totally new name also here. Okay, I hope you understood till here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I have got few more responses. I'll check them later. Okay. Now, example. See, earlier in my previous example here, I passed them individually, name, ID, and salary. Now, what I'm doing next, I'm passing the entire structure. See, so emp is the variable to the structure employee. So I'm just passing this entire structure variable here. And what I'm doing at the called function, struct employee, I am creating a new variable. So I'm using a totally different name here. In case if you want, you can use the same name because the scopes will be different. Okay. So this EMP will, if I put again EMP, the scope of this variable comes to this display function. Okay. But we have taken it as totally different name, not an issue. Okay. And I'm accessing e.name, e.id, and e.salary. Okay. So same thing can be done. So this is how do we pass the entire structure. Okay. Next, passing the structure pointer to the function. Okay. In this case, the address of the structure variable is passed as an actual argument to the function. So in the previous earlier classes, you understood call by value and call by reference, something similar to that. And even in when we understood the arrays also, you understood how to pass the array as the function argument. So same thing here also. We pass the structure variable. So address of the structure variable is passed as an actual argument to the function. And in the formal argument, what you do, you'll make it as a pointer variable. Okay, this is what we do. So actual argument when you're sending, and you know the difference between actual and formal argument also. So in the actual argument, you'll be specifying the address of the structure variable. In the formal argument, you must declare it as a pointer to the structure. Okay, this. And any changes made to the members in the called function are directly reflected to the calling function, since we are doing it by pass by reference. Okay. Now this is the example now. Now what I'm doing, I'm not passing the variable of structure variable. Instead, I'm passing the address of the structure variable, ampersand EMP. Now if you observe in the called function, so instead of just struct employee E, I have it as a pointer. Okay, pointer. And then you can access it by using the arrow operator or star E dot name. Okay, so this is what you can do. So I hope till here it is clear. Understood now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next, passing array of structures. So passing array of structures to function. So passing an array of structure type to a function is similar to passing an array of any type to a function. Okay. So it's similar to that, which you already know. The function prototypes comes after the structure definition. I'll just show you. See, the function prototype, what you write, and even I've shown you this function prototype. So when you're giving the definition of the function after the main, so function prototypes will declare it before the main. No? This function prototype should be written after the structure definition. First you got to define the structure, and after that you should go for giving the function prototype. So now what we are doing now, see display. So this employee, now it is an array. Okay, it's something declared as struct employee emp of size 2. Okay, size 2. Next we have display. So inside the called function struct employee EE, again it is made as an array, and size is unspecified. Okay, this, and I can access run a for loop EEI dot name. Okay, to access the first employee name in the first iteration, I value will be 0. It will get you the name of the first employee, ID of the first employee, salary of the first employee. In the second iteration of the for loop, I value will become 1, and you will be allowed to access the name, ID, and salary of the second employee. And again, when you are passing the array, correct, no, which is an array to the structure, ampersand is not necessary, because this EMP itself will act as the starting address. And this entire array EMP, which is the actual parameter, gets copied to this formal parameter EE. Okay, now we are done. So this was the last thing. All the four ways of passing the structure members to the function we understood. First is passing the individual members of the structure, and second is passing the old structure to the function, and the third we understood passing the address of the structure, and fourth we understood how do we pass an array of structure to the function as the formal parameter. Okay, these are the things what we understood in the structure. Okay, that's all. So next topic is the unions. So structures you have understood till now. So next what we are going to learn is the unions. So let me tell you, so unions are something similar to the structure, but there are basic differences between structures and unions. So that is what you'll learn now. Okay, unions. Now I want to define union. How do I define? So the same definition, okay, what you wrote for structure applies for union also. So union is a collection of variables of different types. Even the structure is also same. So and it's written just like a structure. However, with union you can only store the information of one field at any one time. So this difference I'll explain to you with what? An example. So in structure it is possible for you to store the information of all the fields at any point of time, but in union so you can store the information of only one field at a given point of time. And why this? Because there are differences, basic differences. So union has one major basic difference when compared with the structure, that is in terms of memory storage. Okay, so because of that, so you can store only one information of only one field at any point of time in union, whereas in structure you can go for storing information of all the fields at any point of time. Okay, so you can picture a union as like a chunk of memory that is used to store variables of different types. Okay, so you have one chunk of memory, and in that chunk of memory you are going to store the variables of different types. So you don't have the different chunks of memory allocated for every variables here. You have one single chunk of memory allocated, and the same chunk of memory is used to store the variables of different types. Now for this reason, so we say, so it is not possible to store the information of all the fields simultaneously in union, but you can store the information of only one field at a time. So once a new value is assigned to a field, the existing data is wiped over with the new data. Okay, so for example, I have assigned a value to some field which is there inside the union, or field is nothing but the member of the union. Okay, so if I assign, say I have assigned some value to the member of a union, so and immediately after that I am trying to assign a new value to another member of the same which is lying within the same union. So then there is a possibility of the existing data getting wiped out, or the existing data getting replaced with the new data. Why? Because we have the same single piece of chunk of memory allocated for all the variables. Okay, and how much is the size of that chunk, that we will understand later when we go to the next slide. I hope you understood the concept of union. Union is very similar to the structures, but with this basic difference. Is that clear? Yes, I need your response. So if you have any doubts also, you can ask me. If you people were physically in front of me, then so I could understand from your expressions, Karano, that whether you people have followed it or not. Right now, you're not physically in front of me. I have to poll you and ask whether you have understood or the concept is clear. Yes, still no response?
Understood, sir.
Yeah, okay. Next. So a union can also be viewed as a variable type that can contain many different variables like structure, but only actually holds one of them at a time. Okay, not like a structure. The structure holds all of them. So this can save memory if you have a group of data where only one of the type is used at a time. Okay, so in case, so I want to save the memory, so then you can go for using the unions. So the size of the union is equal, this is what is important. The size of the union is equal to the size of the largest data or element in the union. Okay, the memory allocated to the union depends on the size of the largest field or the member which is present inside the union. Okay, I have the example, I'll show you in the latest slide. Okay, now union syntax is like this. So yes, mute. Yeah, so union syntax goes like this. So it's exactly same as the structure syntax. Only thing is, instead of the keyword struct, so you'll be writing it as union, and then union tag name. Some tag name will specify here, and then the members of the union, and you can have the union variables. So exactly same as the structure except this keyword. Okay, instead of struct, you'll be writing it as union. Next, I have the example now. So union item. So the tag name given to this union is item, and so if you just look into this, there are three members inside it. One is of type int, another one is of type float, another one is of type character, and then this is the variable to this union now, code. Now this, on a 32-bit machine, the size of the integer is 4 bytes, float is 4 bytes, character is again a byte, a single byte. Now what is the memory allocated to this? So in case of structure, instead of union, if I write this as structure, what is the memory allocated to this? 4 plus 4 plus 1. So total 9 bytes of memory will be allocated. Okay, but in union it is not 9 bytes of memory allocated. So what is the biggest type here among all these members? So this is also 4 bytes and float is also 4 bytes. There is a total 4 bytes of memory will be allocated, and the same 4 bytes of memory will be shared among all these members. Okay, so say what is the total memory allocated to this union? 4 bytes of memory is allocated, and say for example I want to store the integer value. So I want to store some integer value. I'll assign, so code.m is equal to some integer value, and immediately after that if I say code.x is equal to some floating point value, what will happen? So the integer value which I have stored will be overwritten by the float value. This is the reason we say at any point of time, so you can use the unions to store the information of only one field. So if you simultaneously say code.m is equal to some integer value, code.x is equal to some integer value, if I write, so what will happen? So the latest statement, the statement which you are writing latest, more recently, will be overwriting the value of the previous statement. I have the example, I'll show you in the next slide. I hope you understood till here. So give a quick response to me now.
Yes.
So this is what the memory allocation. See, so for the previous example, for this example, okay. So the maximum memory allocated is 4 bytes because we add two types. One is integer and float, and since both of them take the same memory, so 4 bytes of memory is allocated. So when I am storing a character, so it uses this byte. So if I am storing an integer on a 16-bit machine, it uses this. So and a float uses all the 4 bytes. Okay. So let me assume it's a 16-bit machine. This is only 2 bytes, and this is 4 bytes, and this is 1 byte. So the memory is allocated for the largest member of the structure, that is float. 4 bytes of memory is allocated, and the same 4 bytes of memory is used by all other members, for storing the information. Okay. Now if I say I have stored some character here, say this particular memory location 1000, I have written A, uppercase A or lowercase a, assume whatever it is, and immediately after that I want to store an integer value 10, so I am storing 10. Now what it will do, it will consume both of this. That means you have this character which was written to this memory location overwritten by the integer. Next. Yeah, so union example, the compiler will allocate enough storage in a number to accommodate the largest element in the union. So as I already told, so for the biggest element in the union, the memory is allocated. Elements of a union are accessed in the same manner as the structure. So how do we access? How we were accessing the elements or the members of the structure by using the dot operator if it is an ordinary variable, if it is a pointer by using the arrow operator, and even using the pointer star pointer name and dot operator again you can use. So same thing applies even for the union also. So the elements of the union can be accessed by using the dot operator if it is a normal variable, and similarly you can have pointer to the union also if you are using a pointer. So then the arrow operator if you are not using the dereferencing operator star. If you are using the dereferencing operator star, then you can access using the dot operator itself. Now I have the example here. So I am assigning code.m is equal to 1, 2, 3, so integer, this is the first member, and code.x is equal to 23.5. Okay. Now what I am doing, so print, I am trying to print m value. So this will generate an error because this is not defined. Okay. So immediately after write code.x is equal to 23.5. So what this will do? This will overwrite it. Okay. And then code.x. This is the only information that is stored in the union at any point of time. So there is the information of only one thing stored. Please mute. Next. Okay, this is the example. So I have the working examples also. I'll show you the difference between the structure and the union. So structure allocates its total size of all elements in it. Okay, the memory allocated is the sum of the memory required for all the elements in the structure. But in union, the memory is allocated only to the largest element. Okay, and the same memory is shared by all other members of the union. So members inside the structure are always stored in a separate memory locations throughout the lifetime and the scope of the entire structure. So union, it is allocated only for the largest one, and the same is shared by all of them. So manipulation of one member will not affect the other in case of a structure, but if you are manipulating here, it will affect the other because all of them are sharing the same memory, allocated memory. And what we use here is the keyword struct, and the only difference in the syntax of the union is that the keyword union. So all data members in a structure are active at a time, but here there can be only one member which is active at a time. So similarities are also there between the structure and the union. So when you are accessing any of the structure member or the union member, what we make use of is the dot operator. And again, even in the structure we understood that inside the structure definition the initialization is not possible. So same applies for the union also. Inside the union, so you cannot when you are giving the definition for some union, so the inside the definition of the union the declaration initialization is not possible. And size of operator, so even in order to obtain the size of the structure you are using the size of operator, and the same thing applies even for what the union also. But when you apply the size of operator on the structure, it gives you the bytes, total bytes from all the members of the structure. When you use the size of operator on the union, it gives the bytes only for the bigger type member within the union. Okay, I have the example now. So union 01.c. Okay, this example will demonstrate the difference, basic difference between the union and structure. Say I have the union created here with the name union job. If you just look into this, I have one character array, a float member, and integer member, and I have one character also which I have commented. Okay, next. We have a structure also with the name structure job, and for the variable to this union job is u job, and variable to the structure job is s job, and we have character array same, and then what is it, float array, sorry, float salary, and int worker number. Okay, and we are printing. So size of union is equal to, see, size of operator we are applying on the union variable also, and the same size of operator is being applied on the structure variable also. Okay, now this is what. Now by looking into this example, you tell me what will be the size printed for the union and what will be the size printed for the structure. So assume it's a 16-bit machine or 16-bit processor. I need your response. So in this union, it just this is a comment statement. Don't take this into account. Character A is a comment statement. Don't take that into account. So leaving that, you tell me what will be the memory allocated for the union and what is the memory allocated for the structure.
For union 32.
Yeah, good.
For structure 40.
Okay, 16 I told, right? 16-bit processor. So 32 plus 4, it is 36 plus 2, 38. 38, right? So size of integer is 2 bytes on a 16-bit processor. If you say 32-bit processor, so size of integer is 4 bytes. 32 plus 4 is 36 plus 4, 40. It becomes 40. So since I told you, assume it is a 16-bit processor. So 32 plus 4 plus 2, okay, comes to 38 bytes. Okay. So on my laptop, if I execute this, you should get it as 40 bytes because so size of integer is 4 bytes here. Okay. So let me quickly execute this and show you, and I'll just uncomment this also. So I'll comment this statement and uncomment this character A and also show you. Okay. I'll just open my DOS box. Okay. So program is already there. I'll just open that program. Okay, structure and union. So I have a separate folder now, so structure and union. So union1.c. I'll make it bigger. Okay. So the same program which I explained you now. Okay. I'll compile this. Or let me show you once. Same program which was shown in the PPT. Now I'll run it. Okay, now I'll execute it. Okay, it is executed. I have to press Alt F5. That's all. Yeah. Size of union 32 bytes and size of structure 38 bytes. Okay, sorry. So it is, yeah, 32 plus 4, 36, and this is 2 bytes. It's taking as 2 bytes for even me also because I'm executing it using the DOS box. Okay, and here the size is 32 bytes. The biggest one is this. So character takes 1 byte, but this is 32. Okay, array of size 32. So 32 bytes of memory is allocated. Now what I'll do is I'll comment this. I'll uncomment this. Okay, save I'll compile again and then I'll run it. So execute it. Now I'll press Alt F5. Okay. So now in the second run, size of union is 4 bytes. So the biggest type, now you have one integer, one float, and one character. The memory is allocated for the float, 4 bytes, and the size of the structure is still 38 bytes. Okay. Now I have another example. Now before that, I'll just go to my PPT. Yeah, this one example I'll complete and I'll stop. So now accessing union members. So I don't have the structure declared, only the union here. So union job, name of tag of the union is job. So I have two members here, character, gender, and then integer, worker number. Okay, ID of the worker and gender of the worker. Add a variable to the union is j. If I think it's too small, let me make it a little bigger. Yeah. Now int main. Now what I'm doing here, j dot gender is equal to m. Since it's a character, I'm assigning the gender as male, and immediately after that, j dot worker number is equal to, say, worker ID. I'm assigning it as 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm printing. So gender. Okay. What will happen? So this, the memory allocated to this union with 2 bytes. Now this byte, the first byte, I'm storing yum, and immediately after that I'm saying j dot worker number is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. What will happen? This will overwrite it. Okay. And then I'm just trying to print the gender and the worker ID. Now what will happen? So this gender will not get the proper output. Why? Because this is already overwriting yum, and you'll get a different character. Now what is the different character? So in the first byte 12 will be stored. If you take this ASCII value, so the equivalent character to that, you'll not get it exactly as m. I'll just go to the program, execute, and show you this. Okay, I'll open the other program. Okay. See now, gender I'm assigning m, and then after that worker number 1, 2, 3, 4 I'm assigning. Okay. Now I'll run this. Okay. Execute it. I'll press Alt F5. Observe here. So in the run, there was no clear screen. For better clarity, let me add the clear screen. I will just do clear screen here. See now, so gender you're getting totally irrelevant character, and worker ID is 1, 2. Why this? Because first I was assigning gender, and then immediately after that the worker ID 1, 2, 3, 4, and this worker ID 1, 2, 3, 4 is replacing that byte, and you're getting a totally different thing. Okay. Now I'll go back. Now what I'll do is I'll comment this second statement. I just don't want to assign anything to worker number. I'll compile again and run. So now gender is male, but worker ID I'm getting wrong, because at any point of time there can be the information stored about only one field. Okay. So that is Zeng value or the random value what you are getting. Okay. Next, I'll comment this. I'll uncomment the worker number. So I'll go for commenting this also. Save. Or I can do it like this. What I'll do now, I want to print both. So this statement, printf statement, I'll just cut this and I'll put it immediately after assigning the gender. Okay, and I'm then assigning to this worker number and I'm printing it. Okay, what I'll do is I'll remove this clear screen from here. I'll save this. I'll compile. So now you can observe. Sorry. Save. Yes. Okay. So compile. Now run. Now Alt F5 if I press, you can see both now. So gender is also printed properly and worker ID is also printed properly, because immediately after assigning I'm printing it. So and when I assign the next value, ID, so to this another member of the union, so even though it is overwriting, then I've already printed it. Okay, so this is about the unions. We'll stop here. So next class we'll discuss the dynamic memory allocation. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you have any doubts or queries, you can discuss with me.
No doubt, sir.
Okay. So then in my tomorrow's class, I'm going to start with the dynamic memory allocation. I'll just see once it is downloaded or not. Submitting attendance 14. Okay, it is downloaded. Okay, thank you then. So we'll meet again tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.